The mortgage helper is becoming a major strategy for buyers in 2026. Today, we're going to talk about why. What's a mortgage helper? It's basically another way of saying buying a home with rental income built in. Could be a basement apartment, could be an in-law suite, could be an extra studio above the garage. Honestly, it sounds kind of perfect, right? The right solution to affordability: buy a home, rent part of it out, have your tenant pay your rent for you. Perfect. And it's definitely a smart strategy in the right situation. But I'm making this video today because I want to give you the full picture. More information means less stress and better decisions. Okay, so let's start out with sort of the ideal situation, which is that you buy a property, you have a rental apartment in the basement, you have the perfect tenant move in who pays you rent on time every single month, you don't hear anything, you don't see anything, it's like they're invisible, and you have a big chunk of your rent covered for you. I'm making fun a little bit here, but the reality can be a little bit more complicated. I've seen clients so focused on the income potential part of that property that they sort of forget some really important things, and it's my job to help point those out to you. So before we look at any properties, before we go shopping for houses, we really need to talk about the three most important things in this conversation. The first is the legality, the second is the cost, and the third is the lifestyle. So one of the things that people find out quickly when they start looking for a property with income potential is the legality of it. Is it a legal basement apartment? Here's where it gets tricky. Every municipality has their own rules for things like ceiling height. I've seen ceiling height in some municipalities, which, by the way, is part of what makes it legal. I've seen ceiling height in some areas 6.5 feet. In other municipalities, you need a minimum 8-foot ceiling in the basement. So that's a big one. Other things to pay attention to are things like window size. You need to make sure that the window is the correct size for code in that municipality. And also things like separate entrances. Does the basement have a dedicated entrance? Here's why this matters. If you purchase a property and your rental income unit is not legal, you can face fines from the municipality. You can run the risk of having your insurance not cover you if something happens. So let's deal with the first one first, which is it legal? And if it's not legal, how much is it going to cost to make it legal? A lot of times I'm working with buyers who start this process imagining the best case scenario, which is that you have someone move in and pay a big chunk of your mortgage, which is a great idea and it's completely valid. But imagining that you're getting $1,500 a month for that basement apartment, that's not all profit. If something breaks down, like appliances, for example, or there's a water problem, even if you just have to replace the smoke detector because it's old, those are all costs that you have to factor in. You also have to factor in vacancy. What happens when a tenant moves out? Now you need to maybe paint it, you certainly need to clean it, and then there's the time in between tenants that you will have to cover that cost. A good rule of thumb is to set aside 10 to 15% of the monthly rent that you're getting to cover those expenses. So what that means is the $1,500, which is just an example, of course, the $1,500 per month that you're getting in rental income now becomes $1,100 or $1,200 because you're setting aside some for expenses, some for vacancy. It's a good rule of thumb. The third piece of the conversation is, are you ready to be a landlord? It sounds straightforward, and for the most part it is, but you do need to consider what your life will actually look like when you have someone living in your house in the basement. It also means that you're running a small business effectively. So for example, when your tenant decides that they're going to move out and then you need to go in and do the cleaning and potentially the painting, now you have to find the next tenant that's going to move in. So how are you going to do that? Are you going to advertise it on Facebook? Are you going to enlist the services of a realtor? If not, then you will need to deal with things like making sure that you've got the proper lease documents. You want to have at least a basic understanding of the Residential Tenancies Act so that you understand their rights and yours. And you also need to think about being available to manage problems as they arise. So what I want to talk about now is how you can do this the right way. So the first thing that we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking for properties that already have a legal basement. If the secondary unit is legal, it will show up somewhere in the listing because it's a huge selling feature. If you don't see the words legal basement or legal unit in that listing description, whether it's on MLS or on Facebook, chances are very good it's not legal for some reason. Maybe the ceilings are not high enough. Maybe the separate entrance doesn't check the boxes of the municipality. But whatever it is, If it's not legal, then you're dealing with the idea of having to make it legal. To avoid this, we would be looking for properties with separate entrances, high ceilings, and large windows that are already in place. Those are three of the biggest ones. And these are the properties with the biggest potential. The second thing that you're going to do is run the numbers conservatively. So don't just look at the potential rent, look at the expenses. Think about things like who's going to be paying the utilities? Are they paying a portion? Will they have their own utility accounts or will it fall under yours? Some risk associated with that. You want to factor in the cost of any renovations, painting, cleaning service, and then sort of just giggle check the numbers to make sure that everything lines up. And then the third thing that you want to think about is focusing on the quality of the property first and the income part of it second. And the reason for that is because if you plan to live there, the home really needs to work for you. So let's say, for example, it's a basement apartment that you have in this property. You're going to be living on the main floor and the second floor. Does that house work for you? Does it have enough bedrooms? Does it have enough space? Is it new enough? Does it have an open concept like what you're looking for, if that's important to you? The income part of it, it really should function as the bonus, not the main driving force behind the decision. You want to plan this carefully and don't be afraid to involve professionals as early as possible in the conversation. And when I say professionals, I mean realtors. Ask your mortgage broker for their opinion because they have a lot of good advice about this kind of thing. Talk to your accountant and see if it makes sense. And if you don't have an accountant and you're thinking about getting a basement apartment, I would suggest getting an accountant. The general idea is people do this for a living. There are some people that are very good at what they do, and they can help to guide you in terms of what to pay attention to and what not. And certainly if you have any questions on the real estate side, I'm more than happy to answer them. You can also visit my YouTube channel, by the way, for the full video on this discussion. What I can help you do is to, first of all, select the right property for you. We can talk about navigating the municipal bylaws in the areas that you're searching, and I can help to connect you with the right people that will answer the questions that remain. If you like the idea of a mortgage helper and you're just starting to look for a property, especially if it's your first property, because you will have more questions, don't be afraid to reach out to me. I'm here for all kinds of questions. I'll answer them in the comments. I make myself 100% available to my clients. If you found this video helpful, I certainly encourage you to like, subscribe, and hit those post notifications. I'd like to be able to continue to provide this content for you. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you soon.